Now in this video, I'm going to share with you some rare business advice from 50 Cent. Now typically when we think of 50 Cent, we see him in more recent years having quite success, not only in the music industry, but also the broader entertainment industry when it comes to TV shows like Power and things like that. And I want to share with you a very rare clip from 2008 where he gave a lot of good advice, and he says it in a very blunt New York slang type of way, but we're going to break it down because I remember watching this many times when I was actually at university. If you're new to the channel, I went to university back at London School of Economics, and it's kind of funny that even though this is a top university, of course, there's many people there who aren't necessarily that successful or that qualified, right? And someone like 50 Cent, who might not come from the background of a top university, actually had a lot more success than them, hundreds of billions of dollars. So there's something worthwhile to learn from him. And this video clip, every now and again, it gets taken down from YouTube. It ends up back up there. Sometimes it's hard to find. So I'm going to go through it, and there's a lot of important lessons here. It has over 500,000 views here. I've seen it previously have millions and millions of views from channels that might have been taken down. And he mentions things here, which we're going to go through here, around making $100 million from the vitamin water. I'm sure many of you are familiar with vitamin water. You know, the colorful water is technically not that healthy for you. It has a ton of sugar in it, but it has some vitamins. And it was very popular, and it was run by a small company called Glacial, and they sold it to Coca-Cola, and he had a small portion of that he was owning in stock, because he was marketing for them as like a celebrity deal. And through that, he made $100 million. And it's a very small proportion of the stock he owned, but it shows how much money you can make through thinking strategically. So again, we're going to watch this video. It's a little bit grainy, but there's a lot of valuable content here.
I be mad, word, because I be looking at niggas like, I don't understand why I don't get it. You know what I mean? Niggas want niggas not, I don't have a problem. There's no problems anymore. You know why? Because if I had a problem, what I could do is I could take a nigga like the Fat Joe. Kidding me? I take a nigga off the street right now and make him make the money Fat Joe make right now. And then you know what I tell him after he get comfortable? I'm sorry, but this is over. If you don't deal with that situation, the situation you got is over. Then it's the Pop go the Weasel. You already know what time it is, because niggas is hungry. You watching this shit right now and you waiting on your shot, then you know, because you would.
That's a very blunt way of explaining something, but I think the lesson number one is how to leverage your junior staff to do uncomfortable tasks. Now, what he's saying here is, right, when you want to deal with delivering a bad message, when you want to deal with the competition, right, in his case, he was going to hire a more junior rapper, right, a music artist, to deal with a beef he had with another rapper at the time, Fat Joe. They've resolved their differences now. But the point is, he was saying, okay, I'm going to put you in a comfortable position. I'm going to hire someone junior to do this, and I want you to take the risk your reputation, risk your career by delivering a negative message to someone else. In this case, it would be in a rap battle or a beef with someone else. At work, this happens all the time, right? I'll deal with a director, and I'll hire a junior employees, an associate, a vice president. Now, when something goes wrong, like delivering bad news to a trader on the trading floor, that maybe some of the communication they have is a gray area. It looks like insider dealing, market manipulation, unprofessional communication with maybe another broker or another investment bank, collusion, it might look like that. So when it comes to delivering bad news to a trader, the managing director won't do that. He'll get someone junior on his team to do it at a mid-level, mid-senior level, the bearer of bad news. You know, there's a phrase, you don't want to be you don't want to be the bearer of bad news, you don't want to be the messenger giving bad news. But typically that's how it works. He's not going to get involved too much, say, in a beef or something, when he can ask a more junior rapper who's on his payroll, whose whole financial situation depends on keeping his manager happy, who's going to have to deal with that difficult situation. Now, these are the type of common things you deal with in a corporate environment. So let's learn rule number 2, which is one of the most important rules here, is how to think outside the box and not follow the masses, the sheep, the normies, people around you.
Niggas be asking me questions, right? I be asking me, why the fuck you asking me questions? So many questions, I understand it now, because I just sat down and I thought about it, and I said, damn. If I'm from the same corner another nigga from, and that nigga get up off that corner and start bringing in 100 big ones every motherfucker, I'm not talking about $100, nigga. I'm talking about 100 M's, nigga. A motherfucking, yeah, I got a lot of questions too, right? Supposed to have a motherfucking question, but niggas always act like they don't understand what's going on. I be telling niggas straight up, I give them the game, man. It's a gift. Here you go, baby. And you know what they do? They look at me like I'm trying to pull a fast one on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna you right after I used it. Once I bang them one time, I hit a lick, I'm gonna let you go ahead and go do it if you can fucking keep your head together enough to get yourself in the position. But I mean, you want to play stupid, stay broke. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? For me, I'm going to take it in. I'm going to absorb everything that's going on and get what I can get. Ain't no school for this shit, stupid. Ain't no school for this shit. You got to be smart enough to pick up the information as you go. Now, the crazy shit is niggas that look like you doing something wrong. Why do wrong? If you can find a nigga that can tell you that I own something, find one nigga that can say, yo, that nigga 50 owe me something, or he won't call you boo-boo because he want like he knew me before we actually got on and shit like that. If you can find a nigga that say I owe him something, word to my mother, I'll give him whatever you say I owe him, but because I can't remember a nigga doing nothing for me, nigga. Now a motherfucker say you crazy, nigga call me crazy, you know I be thinking, say that? Nigga say I'm crazy, I be thinking, yep. I was crazy enough to believe what the fuck I was saying gonna happen was gonna happen. Well, I was persistent enough and consistent in that. Feel what I'm saying? So later on, y'all can check it out. I know y'all niggas be reading 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene. Now you're gonna read the 50th law, because I done got with Robert Greene to create the new shit for you to read, nigga.
So again, speaking in kind of blunt terms, but we're going to go through that. So that's rule number 2, right? Thinking outside the box. So how can we actually define that in a bit more detail here? So the first thing is, he's talking about $1 million deal. That's when he says the 100 big ones, 100 M's. That's what he's talking about here. This was actually around the time where this information came out publicly, and he would just later in life, he did. This was about a decade ago. He would just say, well, yeah, I made some money. They said, you made allegedly $100 million. CNBC and these other people interviewing him, he would say, well, I made a decent amount of money. He just wouldn't say what it was, how much, but he covers this in a bit of detail here, right? So in his recent interviews, he emphasized the importance of thinking long-term in business, highlighting how this investment helped him make a substantial profit for the company he was working for, which was Glacial, that came up with vitamin water. He was doing like a celebrity endorsement deal and also owned some stock in the company. Now, he covers it in a bit of detail here, right? So after negotiations with the company, they struck a deal, and 50 Cent was part of that sales increasing because he's in the advertising. But what he did, which was crucial here, he just didn't do a basic endorsement deal whereby he was just a celebrity who gets paid for a one-off appearance in the advert. He owned some stock in the company. So once they got sold to Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola, if you don't know, they own a lot of different drink companies that you might not think of, right? Innocent smoothies, like fruit smoothies, they own that. If you look on the back of any drink you buy, you'd see often, even if it's not Coca-Cola, I'd say owned by the Coca-Cola company. They own a lot of even water distribution companies, things like that. Any type of beverage, drink, many of them are owned by Coca-Cola, even if they seem like a healthy one, like a fruit smoothie, things like that. So they ended up buying this vitamin water, and he made a lot of money, as you can see here, right? Now, the key quotes are here, right? After negotiations with Glacial, a deal was struck. 50 Cent helped increase sales from 100 million to 700 million within 3 years. Then he further benefited when the company was sold to Coca-Cola. People were talking about how much money I made, but I was focused on the fact that $4.1 billion was made. And I think I can do bigger deals in the future. Now, what I want to point out there, and this comes down to knowing your value, is that he was saying, okay, well, yeah, I made a certain amount of money, allegedly 100 million. I'm not going to tell you how much I did make, but I was focused on how much deal did I make for the company. I made $4.1 billion for the company, or at least I helped in that. And relatively, I made a small amount. I'm sure the investors, the owners of the company made, the majority of those billions of dollars, right? Because they sold the company to Coca-Cola. Got a small proportion of it. And that's what he tried to use in the future, is leverage that. Well, I've helped increase their sales from 100 million to 700 million. I've helped this company sell for billions of dollars when it was relatively small to start with. So how can I kind of demonstrate that in future instances? And I remember around the time he was doing interviews at CES, which Consumer Electronics Show. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that, CES. And he was looking at, getting involved in TV advertising or owning a TV company. Later on, he invested in headphones. You might SMS Sleek headphones. They were alternative to Beats headphones. He got involved in energy drinks, SK Street King energy drinks. And he did all these type of different businesses, even underwear for men, things like that. Sheath underwear, you might remember. he tried these things, and not all of them were really successful. They maybe had a short-term run and didn't really reach mass market. But the point here still remains is that he knew his worth and he knew the value he could add to a company. So you should think about the value you're adding to a company. If you're getting a very small cut of what you're adding to the company, think about whether you can negotiate for a salary increase. Or if you play a crucial role on a team, even if it's not revenue generating and they really need your expertise, think if you can navigate or negotiate a pay rise or a promotion, right? Or a more senior role, even if you're managing junior employees and you get a pay rise through that. These are the type of things. Really look at the strategic positioning you're in relation to the company you're working for. The same way he did, right? He thought, well, hold on, well, maybe I can negotiate a bigger deal in my next endorsement deal, my next representation of a company. How can I maximize how much I can extract? If I can demonstrate I've previously been able to generate this amount of value, how much revenue are you generating for your employer? How important and crucial are you in terms of your level of expertise for the department you work? Can you navigate that to a bigger position of power and pay? These are important things to learn from, right? I remember Kanye West, or Ye as he changed his name, when he had a deal with Adidas. He wanted stock ownership, he wanted equity options and things like that. He didn't just want to be getting a small endorsement deal. And I think this is a rough number, I'm not sure if this is fully accurate, but Michael Jordan, from heard, he owns like 5% or less than that of stock in Nike, because he has the Michael Jordan sneakers, of course, Jordans. So he negotiated some level of ownership, and ownership is everything. Ownership is the highest form of business. I'd rather personally own my business. I'm self-employed, of course, as a career coach, versus, constantly building someone else's dream and they own everything and I'm someone who can be removed at any moment. Disposable for the company, I'm a cog in a machine. So you got to think about how you can leverage the dynamic to benefit you, thinking outside the box. And in many ways, he was the first guy who kind of did this, ended up being followed by other rappers like Flow Rider, who did a business deals with an energy drink, things like that. He was thinking outside the box. That's another important thing to kind of learn from here. He was the first rapper, from what I remember, to really get involved in promoting somewhat health brand. In this case it was like vitamin water, even though it had a lot of like 23 grams sugar in it. But after that, many energy drinks came through, and other rappers, and he partly involved in some of that. So it's important to think outside the box. People typically don't listen and learn from unconventional advice, like my channel, right? A lot of the things I say are unconventional. If you're following the corporate Kool-Aid, you're drinking the corporate Kool-Aid, you're drinking the corporate cyanide, as I call it, and thinking, oh, let me listen to a lecture from JP Morgan billionaire CEO Jamie Dimon. I'm sure he'll have great life advice for me. And then you listen to it and you're like, well, this is unrelatable, right? He's just giving me something to brainwash me to consider following his advice when his life circumstances and his path to the top was completely different from mine. So it's the same way with 50 Cent. When he gives unconventional advice to some of his friends in his neighborhood, they think it's a bit crazy. They don't get it, right? So people often think they know better. They try to take you for a fool because your approach to success might be different. You might be doing a solo approach and you're not backed by an establishment. You're not necessarily acting for approval or popularity. You're not following the sheep. And typically, when you do things like that, maybe you take a risk on starting your own business, job hopping to get pay rises, switching from one part of your industry to another, like switching from finance to tech, dropping out of college, maybe going into the trades. People are judging you for it, but often this is the right path. And this comes on to rule number 3. Don't be overly helpful. People will always demand more of you, and never forget who didn't support you. This is something I've dealt with, many of you have dealt with. You deal with a lot of jealous people when you're pursuing success in an unconventional way. They might want a handout after your success, but on your way to the top, they're going to be judging you, passing negative comments. You might have friends or family that might hate on your progress, co-workers who are jealous, things like that. He says, I can't remember people helping me. I'll find someone who says I owe them, don't remember people helping me. I've dealt with cases even now to this day, and I'm sure many of you have. That's why many people feel isolated, because everyone's competing with everyone. Everything's a transactional relationship. Even your older family members might be judging you if you're not following the traditional career path. Friends will be jealous of you because they're competing with you. Things like that, right? You might work hard in corporate, you deal with jealous co-workers and managers who don't want you to outshine them, a lack of promotions unless you're job hopping. If you're focusing on self-improvement, you might get hate from your family members from working out too much, being too healthy and not relaxing and eating unhealthy food like them. If you're studying hard in school, I remember getting hate from like friends that I'm studying too hard. I remember getting quite bored in a lot of breaks between our classes, and during a short break, like lunch break, I would take and hang around with people. But during like the 20-minute recess break that you might have, I might be reading up on something, because I just got bored. Most people were just gossiping about nothing, talking about a TV show, or at the time when I was at school, many people were very big on having the latest phone, so they'd just be talking about different mobile phones, and it just bored me, right? And now you might have smartphones or TikTok with kids, and I'm just like, I just got bored because it just seemed like just dumb conversation, and would hate on you for studying and being productive. They think, oh, you're always trying to be better than everyone else. And it's like, no, I'm just trying to like do something productive. I'm just not the distractions the system has, the lies, the propaganda, the pointless dumb down. It just doesn't entertain me the way it does others or distract me. So this is the thing, right? Sometimes when you're dealing with people, like I say, don't be overly helpful. They're going to take advantage, right? You have to be careful about how you're dealing with people. That's why many times, and it's very important, hopefully the most important part of the video, I think, in my opinion, you have to be careful when you're dealing with people. There's many things I just don't discuss with people. And it's not because I'm hiding everything, even though sometimes people think that, or I'm being too secretive. It's just most people, they're taking the wrong approach to life. And because you're doing something different, they're going to judge you for it. Yeah, it could be anything. It could be maybe you go to sleep super early and wake up very early to go to the gym. It could be that you spend your evenings working on your side business, or you take a major risk in your career, and maybe when there's a market downturn, for example, in crypto, you make a move from working a stable finance job to a small crypto startup. You make a move from tech into the trades because you're like, hold on, I'm making 100K, for example, working in tech in New York, and you're like, well, I really don't like this. It's kind of depressing. My living costs are high. If I do learn a trade on the weekend, like to be an electrician, I can live in upstate New York, I can live a lower cost of living location, make a 6-figure salary, increase my savings rate by double, right? I can go from saving 20% of my income to 50% of my income because I'm living in a low cost of living location. I can spend time in nature, my mental health is better, my physical health is better, and I don't need to play this fake nice social game which is draining my energy, right? And sapping my soul, right? I feel like I'm selling my soul. People will think you're crazy, right? So these are the type of things to really think about. And what he's done, rule number 4 from the video, is he's managed to rewrite the rules to fit his agenda, right? In the 50th Law, which is the book he mentioned, I've read it, I've covered videos of this on my channel and covered the main lessons. So if you just search for 50 Cent on my channel, you'll find my name. And on this is rewrite the rules to fit your agenda, right? It's a great book. I read it at university. It's the type of thing that I'd go back to, or I would read again if I had a bit more time right now. He really encourages you to kind of push for success, not playing by the rules and not following what everyone else does, right? It's very important to do. Your definition of success is different from other people, and you have to find out what's actually going to work for you, not what works for others. Now we're going to learn from lesson number 5 is don't get caught up living in the past. So let's learn from how not to live in the past and how to focus on the present and move forward.
It's a parallel between corporate America and the hood, and it's obvious. You see me winning, don't you? And fucking old timers is looking like, yo, that young boy, he took a page out of my book. But they ain't make all of that fucking money off it that I made off it. So what that make me? That make me a better version of them niggas. Old school niggas. And you check out Fez magazine, Felon magazine, and fucking Dawn, all that shit. For real, you get ready to see a nigga just trying to reflect on the glory days. Baby, I had 10 bricks. Remember I bought you a gold watch, didn't I? Now I don't want to hear that shit. Tell me that shit. You see what I'm saying? Now, this is the point right here where I don't want to see a nigga who had it and don't got it no more. Really, I think them books is there in order to niggas remember that shit, because they ain't ready to do that shit they did then now. You see what I'm saying? So now they want to reflect on that shit so they can make the young boys feel like that they that hard or that serious, so they put it in like that, and then they get the young boys to do anything. They ain't fucking doing nothing. So explain to me, like, when I'm coming up, niggas is like, yo, who with him? Like, who he with? Me, nigga. Myself, nigga. I do what the fuck I want to do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they love me. They love me. You know why they love me? They think like me.
So before we continue, I just want to cover that. So you said, like I said, don't get caught up living in the past. You know, the thing is you got to think about the market or the industry you're in, and often it is, what have you done lately, right? If you've done a massive work project several years ago or like last year, your performance review of course is going to judge you for what you've done this year. So you have to think about the recent wins you have for yourself at the company you're working at. That's how they'll judge whether you should stay at the company or leave. If you're just going through the motions, doing the bare minimum or doing an average job, typically you're not going to make it that far, and they're not going to see you as someone they should put up for promotion. You have to kind of be the center of attention in a sense of the work you're doing sometimes. And the other thing is also think about the personal life, like what are the recent financial wins or whatever personal life goals you have, your fitness goals, relationship goals, what are the current wins you have? Because many people get caught up living in the past. It's not just, you know, the example he gives here, but it could be, oh, I had this good time, I got good grades at high school, or I was popular then, I went on holiday then, and it's like several years ago. And many people get caught up in that, and they end up kind of, you see many people like this as they age, they get kind of depressed, and they're always thinking about the good old, never moving forward in their life. You have to enjoy your life at every stage, right? And have success at every stage. So in many cases, you know, you have to remember what you really want, not what you're told you want, right? Like many times they're selling you this dream, work like a slave for a big house or a miserable marriage, have a kind of dead-end life. And you should not let the system sell you safety, right? And security over true freedom and fulfillment, right? Because that's what you really want. Typically for most men these days, given how the society is right now, you want freedom and you want fulfillment and safety. Because a lot of that safety and security, many times it's an illusion, it's a safe job that isn't really safe. It's things like that you need to look out for. So let's continue to listen to him here. And so we just covered, don't live in the past, focus on your recent success, your future life goals, have a 3 to 5, 10-year plan. I think that's important. And in the final clip, we're going to learn from lesson 6 here, which is true success comes from doing things solo, by yourself, thinking for yourself, taking action for yourself. Let's listen to what he has to say here.
And even after I play basketball, they smell like. Nigga, we the same. We come up the same corners. We ain't had much. You understand what I'm saying? You just gotta hustle. Nigga, you gotta go hard. They playing games, man. Niggas got it. I'm gonna get it. Trust me. I'm gonna get mine. I don't know about y'all niggas. You know what I'm saying? That niggas some bullshit. I'm gonna shoot a nigga over if he stepped on my shoe type shit. Or he fucked the same bitch I fucked with. Yeah, then you gotta up your game so the bitches is from somewhere else. Come on, man. Real shit, man. Like, I mean, like, I don't even to say to niggas, man. I go to my hood, niggas like, yo, what up? I be like, hey, I ain't talking to this nigga. What the fuck am I talking to this nigga for? You know what my grandfather told me? You don't get as far as the motherfuckers you talk to for no reason. You'll be successful as the motherfuckers you talk to for no reason. What I mean is, if you spending your day talking to a nigga that ain't got nothing going on, what the fuck kind of information could he offer you? Help you learn something? Could he teach you something in the conversation? Leave me the fuck alone, man. Y'all niggas, you'll be successful.
So we're going to finish up here, right? So this is what he's saying. You know, he says, you know, when he talked to who haven't got a lot of success. Now, I think it's kind of a there, right? I don't necessarily cut people off based on, you know, how much money they're making or social status they have, but he's got some good points here. I would say, firstly, for my channel, right? I didn't go and ask someone permission for it. I didn't discuss it with family and friends and previous co-workers and things like that. I know most people's feedback is going to be negative. That's too risky. Don't do that. Because many people play it safe and they go nowhere in life, right? And he's kind of saying this, you know, you can't really listen to people who haven't really achieved things to give you good life advice. They're going to tell you, they're going to give it as extremely judgmental. It's not going to take you anywhere. Him himself, right? He didn't mind taking some of these risks. You know, he burnt a lot of bridges. If you're familiar with his career early on, he had a diss song, which was basically insulting many rappers, including big time ones like Jay-Z, who could get him record deals or who could sign him as an artist, right? He kind of burnt a lot of bridges there. And in the end, he didn't mind. He signed a record deal on the West Coast with Dr. Eminem. But the point here is, right, you know, society tries to make you feel small as a man, particularly in this society, in this culture right now. Ambition is kind of seen as a bad thing, right? You should make your dreams small. Instead, that's what they want you to do. But instead, dream big, aim big, take risks, lay low, and go for the big win, right? And have a major goal of meeting your ambitions, whatever they are, right? Also, you need to ruthlessly cut negative people out of your life. In this case, he's talking about people who haven't got much going on. In other cases, it could be family, friends, things like that. Cut them out of your life. Stay positive and keep positive and helpful people around you, right? You don't keep fake people around you, but at least successful people. And it doesn't have to be the money. It could be things who are nutrition experts. It could be your friends who are into fitness. It could be new ideas that you listen to. For me personally, I listen listen to like a broad variety of people on YouTube, right? I listen to people who own their own maybe nutrition company, people who are small YouTubers, who social commentary, and it kind of opens my mind to new ideas, what these different perspectives. And you've seen some of these clips on my channels from maybe smaller YouTubers like that. And these are the type of things about keeping an open mind. It's a bit like playing a game of chess. I don't play chess personally, but it's like keeping an open mind to people who are willing to consider ideas that are outside the norm, outside the Overton window, if you're familiar with that political term. People are willing to say politically incorrect things, or things like what he's saying now, right? These are very uncomfortable truths, right? Saying, oh, well, cut people off, they've got nothing worth saying. Lots of people are losers. The old guys who used to be successful, they're losers, they don't have recent success. The only people I really relate to, if you listen to that clip, in between these 2 points, was he was saying, well, oh, the younger guys, they love me, they're playing basketball, they love me, right? They're playing basketball in the street ball like that, not in the he's like the ambition, he relates to that, and that's why if you were kept with his career, there were times when Soulja Boy was popular and an up and coming artist, or Chief Keef, or there were a few other smaller rappers. He very gravitated to them, gave them more higher profile and marketing promotion because he related to that energy. He doesn't relate to the, oh, I've made millions of dollars, I'm just going to chill right now. Even some of his friends he cut off because they got a bit lazy and complacent when they made a certain amount of money. And these are the type of things, you've got to find things about constantly living life on the edge and breaking barriers. And I don't mean taking unnecessary risks, ridiculous type of threats to your own life and things like that, but really think about how can I really push myself to achieve my goals, and who's really pushing the boundary of opinions you can express online or perspectives on success. Because when you're taking those risks, that's how you achieve goals, right? You may take calculated risks, but the whole point, you should stop being worried about fitting in, about social status, about being called a loner, or there's something wrong with you because you're not following the traditional popular path these days. Because the traditional path, the popular path, the common path, is a road straight to failure. Everyone's going down that right road to do what everyone else is doing. They're straight to failure, straight to being average. You see this way people are in society. I spend a lot of time walking around, going for walks, and you see how people are just living in whatever the common narrative is. And there is truth to what's going on in society, but they get so caught up in what is the popular narrative. For example, the popular narrative is now the cost of living crisis, the inflation's high, there's a lack of jobs, and these are all true things. But people are so caught up in that state of mind that they're not really thinking, oh, how can I make an opportunity work for myself? Is there a skill I can develop? Is there a course I can take? Is there an expert advice I can reach out to, whether it's myself as a career coach? Or it could be, okay, well, how can I really navigate and reorganize my life to benefit myself, right? In some cases, it might be people who are like, okay, cool, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stay up late 3 nights a week, catch up on my sleep later, but on those nights a week, I'm going to focus on my side hustle. Oh, I'm working at this company. I see there's a skill I need to develop, and if I develop it at this company, get the company to pay for it, then I can job hop somewhere else and get a massive pay rise. What's growing, what's declining, right? You can see, obviously, the growth in AI, different types of technology. Those are just examples. The point I'm saying is, you're not going to make it in life if you just follow what everyone else is doing or what your baby boomer parents tell you. Boomers, friends, average people, mediocre, normies, NPCs, whatever you want to call them. You have to think outside the box. So we talked about $100 million deal he did just after his first or second album, if I remember correctly. His great book with Robert Greene. And that brings me on to how I can actually help you, right? I've worked in the finance industry for over a decade. Goldman's, Morgan Stanley. I understand office politics, getting promotions and getting new jobs. And I can help you land your dream career through following these particular rules, right? In these coaching programs. So if you click the link in description, you'll see this screen. You can get started with any of these options. I can help you get a promotion faster through coaching, land your dream career through the booster program, or help you master office politics. So like I say, all the links in description. And if you want free advice sent straight to your mailbox twice a week, just click the link in description. You have a mailbox money newsletter, which I've set up here. Just share your email and I'll send you free career tips on a bi-weekly basis, or twice a week, I mean. So 2 recommended videos on your screen right now, and I'll see you next time.